Welcome to the Blevins Franks Insight and Update on what living in Europe or considering relocating to Europe looks like now that the transition period has come to an end. My name is Ben Simmons, and in a moment we'll also be hearing from my colleague Jason Porter. At Blevins Franks, we have been advising UK nationals moving to Europe for over 45 years. Now, more than ever, it's important to make sure you get the appropriate advice to make the transition to your new home as smooth as possible. Today, Jason will be looking at the impact of the new deal on both the EU and the UK. He'll be looking at the new rules for UK nationals currently living in Europe, as well as the new rules for UK nationals looking to relocate to Europe this year or in the years ahead. He'll also be talking around a number of other salient points and give some options for some of the residency permits out there.
Thank you for that introduction and welcome to our third Brexit video. It's been something in the region of 4 or 5 months since our last Brexit video, and obviously that's a long space of time, but there's been really little point in coming back to you in that intervening period, because until probably the 20th of December, as far as the general public was concerned, there'd been very little movement in the negotiations. Finally, we had an agreement on the 24th of December, the Trade and Cooperation Agreement between the UK and the EU. So it's good to see that we have actually a relationship with the EU, a deal that we can base upon our future relationship. So let's take a look at what those changes are. Well, first of all, the UK is now regarded as a third state. Third state means we join 60 odd other states around the world. It gives us certain privileges, but also it gives us a number of disadvantages, and some of those will come out during this video. Third state basically means that we no longer benefit from membership of the EU and those basic 4 tenets of the EU, one of which is freedom of movement. Now, the demise of freedom of movement is a significant change for what UK nationals can do in terms of visiting the EU. First of all, we don't need to obtain a visa to actually travel in and out of the EU. So for those of us who like to holiday across Spain, France, Portugal, any other of the EU states, we can still do that. In fact, we can still spend extended periods within the EU, but we are restricted to 90 days in any 180-day period. Now that is a look-back calculation. We're looking at every new day, we're looking backwards. Have we spent more than 90 days in the EU in the last 180 days? If we have exceeded our allowance. So in actual fact, you need to keep quite a tight check on that. And particularly if you have a visit planned to the EU that you absolutely have to be there for a week, 2 weeks, or whatever, then that needs planning for in terms of previous visits within the last 180-day period. So there is a significant change there. In addition to that, for those people that have holiday homes in the EU and like to visit regularly, there are fundamental changes alongside of those 90 days as well. And many people have got so used to freedom of movement that they're used to going in and out of the EU as they please. Obviously, with the 90 days, that is now a restriction. Many have written to us and asked, well, is the EU going to observe the rules? Is immigration going to be very aggressive in looking at our passports? Well, actually, it's not so much that they're going to be aggressive, it's just simply the changes that will occur at the airports themselves. If you think about it, the UK has been used to going through the e-gates, the electronic gates, if you have an electronic passport, which now the majority of UK nationals have. Those e-gates allow you to move pretty quickly through the airport. Even if you don't go through an e-gate, you will be going through the EU lanes in getting your passport checked. Going forwards, that won't be happening. We'll be going through the non-electronic and the non-EU gates. That means the immigration officials sitting there will be far more observant, looking at your passport to see when you last entered. The passports are now going to be stamped on entry and exit, so that means they'll be able to find when you entered the country. So there'll be a lot more checks done to see how long you're spending in the EU. Now, what is the danger of that? Will they actually do anything about it? Well, immigration does have a fair number of penalties they can impose upon you. So that could impact upon you in the future. Now, the old European health insurance card that travellers could use to get treatment, emergency treatment in the EU, that has fallen by the wayside, but it's been replaced with something called the GHIC, or the Global Health Insurance Card. That has now got off the ground. Anyone who has an e-hit card at the moment, that will run until it's out of date, but then going forwards, any new applications will be receiving the Global Health Insurance Card. Now let's look a little bit more in detail at what weapons the EU might have in being able to check people in terms of how long they're spending in the EU. UK nationals travelling in and out, how long can they spend in the EU? Well, back in 2016, the EU introduced a whole idea around improving their systems and efficiencies at immigration posts. This was the 2016 Smarter Border Package, which entailed two main elements to it. This is something called ETIAS, which is the European Travel Information and Authorisation System, and the EES, the Entry and Exit System. Both of these are due to go live in late 2022. Now, these will be far more efficient digitalised systems that are designed to track the movements mainly of third state nationals, which UK nationals will be going forwards, track their movement across the EU in terms of entry, movements around the Schengen zone, and exit out of that area thereafter. And the whole idea is to enhance the detections of third-party nationals' movements around the zone. Now, that information that they come up with will be available to the police authorities, will be available to the immigration authorities, and the consular visa services that may have issued somebody with a residency permit or a visa or whatever. And it will allow them to keep much greater track on the movements around the whole of the EU member states. Now, one of those consequences will be that on leaving the EU or leaving an EU state to go outside the EU, those immigration officials will be able to check electronically what your movements have been and if you've exceeded that period. Now, one of the things that we said is what are the penalties for you exceeding 90 days? Well, the danger here is that if you have exceeded, you could get a late stayer stamp on your passport. That could have implications for you in the future, bearing in mind you may want to revisit the EU. This could result in a ban for a period, or it could result in you having issues should you at a later date try and obtain a residency permit for a longer stay. So again, be careful of that. It's not worth exceeding those 90 days in a 180-day period. Okay, so that's the position for those travellers into the EU, for visitors into the EU. Now let's look at what we call movers. The movers are those people that choose to change their life, change their lifestyle, and rather than just visiting the EU, they want to be spending more than 6 months a year in a particular EU member state. They're effectively moving there, retiring there, enjoying their new lifestyle. Now, the basis for the new situation for movers is that they will have to look at now third state residency permits, those residency permits that are available to people moving into the EU where they're coming from outside the EU. The old basis of permits were slightly different from what the new basis will be, but there's a new system in terms of how you obtain that residency permit. Previously, with freedom of movement, you could move to the EU and obtain your residency permit pretty much at your leisure, locally, within the country itself, from the local immigration office, apply, visit, have an appointment and pick up your residency permit. Now, the situation is much different. Without freedom of movement, your application must be made before you actually leave the EU. You will be required to apply at the local embassy or consulate in the UK for the country that you're looking to move to, be it France, Spain, Portugal, Greece, wherever. That's where you need to apply at the embassy in the UK. Now, once your application has been processed, and the application will have to be backed up with additional documentation like birth certificates, marriage certificates, details of income, etc., all of this kind of information will have to back it up. In some cases, it will have to be translated into the required language, and in some cases, that translation is required by a registered translator, so that could incur additional costs. But once notified that your visa is available, then you must make an appointment within the next 30 days to go and visit the embassy or consulate and collect that visa. Then in normal circumstances, you will have to activate that visa within 3 months, within 90 days. And that effectively is you moving to the country, establishing yourself at your place of residence, be it a rented property or a property you've purchased, registering locally as a resident, and then going and converting the visa, either by way of the visa being stamped or the visa being exchanged for a residency permit. The length of that residency permit will vary upon the type of residency permit that you've gone for. But actually there is some quite interesting residency permits and visas out there, depending upon your level of wealth and depending upon how much you're intending to buy a property or invest into the country. And we'll look at a few of those a little later on. Now in this video we are concentrating on those that I've previously described as the economically inactive. Perhaps a high convoluting term for those people who are choosing to retire to the EU, live off pensions, live off capital, live off investments. There is no intention for those individuals to work or study whilst they're there. They're going to be enjoying their retirement. So those particular people have to satisfy additional rules. The two main requirements is that you are not a financial burden on the state in terms of social care, benefits, all of that kind of thing that would cost the state money. But also in terms of costing the state money, that you have medical insurance. Now that medical insurance when it comes to Europe is slightly different than it is in the UK. In most of Europe, the healthcare is what we call subsidised. The state will pay 70 to 80% of most care costs, and the remainder is either paid by the individual directly or they have a type of insurance on top of that to cover those costs. So that's generally the type of care that occurs in Europe. So what they're looking for is that you are not a burden on their medical system, that you don't cost them money to pay for medical care. Now this medical coverage will either be in the form of private medical insurance, so you show you have the required level of private medical insurance, or public medical insurance, so you're getting that through the state system because you are able to get that because of the situation you are in or because of the benefits that you're due. Now, one of the things that the Trade and Cooperation Agreement has continued is what we call the Form S1. So for those people that have got to state pension age in the UK or are receiving their UK state pension, those people will be entitled to apply for a Form S1 from the Department of Work and Pensions. A Form S1 is now still valid in the EU. One of the big fears was that was going to fall by the wayside in either a no deal or a deal scenario that didn't include it. We have it included. The S1 means that those people, when they move to Europe, can actually get state subsidised healthcare, and effectively the UK NHS will cover those costs on your behalf. So you can still get into the state system and get state subsidised healthcare. Now, you will still have the 20 or 30% to pay for yourself, but again, that can be covered by a small insurance policy. In addition to that, the Trade and Cooperation Agreement has also confirmed that the UK state pension triple lock remains in place. That means you will always be getting a minimum level of state pension increase on an annual basis, even though you don't live in the UK, you're living in the EU. So that's obviously good to hear as well. Now we talked about the various different residency permits, etc., which might be available in Europe. Now one of the interesting things is that countries like France, like Spain and Portugal, and Greece, and to a certain degree Italy, and the long existing systems that exist in Cyprus and Malta, mean that there are routes there that you can access the country depending upon, as I said before, the level of your wealth, what you're looking to invest in terms of the property you're buying, or what you're looking to invest in terms of a business, or qualify for the various different rules that allow it. You can get what are called, or certainly is called in Spain and Portugal, golden visas. And this is basically if you're looking at buying a property for about 500,000 euros, then you can get a specialist form of visa, which gives you greater freedom. Now this also works for those visitors, not just movers, but also visitors, because you only have to spend something in the region of 2 weeks a year in Spain or Portugal. And as long as you've invested 500,000 into a property in the correct areas, of the country. There are restrictions certainly within Portugal in the areas, but if you're buying a property in the right area for the right price, then you can utilise that in obtaining a certain sort of visa. That visa allows you to not have to spend at least 6 months in that country to activate it. As I said, it's something in the region of 2 weeks. So some real benefits there for people that are either moving or visiting the EU and those particular countries. Other countries have various different residency programs, those that apply in Cyprus and Malta. There are also other specialist systems which give you great tax reliefs if you're moving to those countries. They want to encourage people to move there. And obviously with COVID, the whole situation has become economically difficult for many EU member states. So it would not be surprising to see over the forthcoming 12 to 24 months if we do see some interesting visa ideas coming from various EU member states over that period to encourage inward investment, to encourage inward movement of wealthy people into those countries. So thank you very much for watching the video. Hopefully there's been a good explanation for you, and thank you for your time.
At Blevins Franks, we have over 20 offices across Europe dedicated to helping UK nationals make the transition to their country of choice. So if you are looking at making a move to France, Spain, Portugal, Cyprus or Malta, please do get in touch with us. You can visit us online at www.blevinsfranks.com. You could email us at inquiries@blevinsfranks.com, or alternatively please call us on +44 207 389 8133. We hope you've enjoyed the video, but if you do have any questions, please feel free to let us know and we'll look forward to speaking with you soon. Many thanks.